Hello everyone, this is part 4 of What If Naruto Learned the Secret of Shadow Clone, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Bright and early, Naruto was back to training his physical body while multitudes of clones trained in both chakra control and technique usage. During the exam against Orochimaru and later against Kiba, Naruto puzzled over why it seemed his clones had an easier time of sneaking up on opponents. After some trial and error, he figured out what the big drawback of the Shunshin was, and how it was negated with the use of clones. Along with his newest chakra control exercise, the kunai balancing soft, he was doing his best to advance past his limits. Struggling with his current set of push-ups after reinstalling his weight seals, Naruto thought on what Kakashi-sensei had told him yesterday. It had been an actual somber Kakashi that had pulled aside his bright student. He had explained that while he could train Sasuke, both because of his Sharingan and because of their similar styles and affinities, that left Naruto in the lurch because he couldn't train both of them. However, while his initial thought was to grab the best on paper instructor his could, his sensei instead promised that he would have someone very important train him for the finals. Naruto was beyond bummed out, but realized that if Kakashi-sensei had chosen him instead, that would have left Sasuke out too. One or the other, someone would have been without the preferred teacher, and so deciding it was for the best of the team, Naruto nodded and told his sensei it was okay and he wasn't upset. Because his sensei had explained everything to him properly, he wasn't feeling kicked to the curb, or abandoned, which was a plus. Which again brought us to the present. A hot and sweaty Naruto working his body to the bone while clones multiplied his training and control. He had a hole to stomp in Neji's after all. Couldn't slack on that. On the other side of the village and near the bath houses, a silver-haired pervert was giggling as he peeped through a hole in the divider fence of the women's bath. Dressed in reds and greens, standing on traditional getter and a horned forehead protector oiled and shined, Jiraiya of the Sannin was doing what his life called out for him to do. And while he would always call it his research, nearly every woman who caught him would never fail to beat the tar out of him and call him the pervert that he was. Though today was slightly different if only because the chakra signature that coalesced next to him was somewhat familiar. Turning away and standing, Jiraiya took in the sight of the masked ninja known as Kakashi. Nodding with a grin and a wave of his notepad, the aging ninja was still in a good mood. Hey there Kakashi, looking for me to sign one of your books ? Tempted, but here on a different mission, Kakashi shook his head. Actually I need some help, if you wouldn't mind. Taking a moment while he put his book away, Jiraiya focused more on the sensei of Team 7. I'm all ears, what is it ? Kakashi took a deep breath, readying himself for this conversation, and after a quick feel to see no one else was around short of the women in the bath, he continued, I need your help with Naruto. Could you take care of him this month ? Immediately losing interest, the old man had his book back out and was turning back to his stealthily made hole. He's your student, that's your department. I don't deal with brats. Having a feeling that that was what he was going to start with, Kakashi waved a hand, it's just a month. Both Sasuke and Naruto did exceptionally well, and I can only train one. Since the Sandaime told me you'd be in town for the exams, I figured I could ask for your help. For the Chunin exams ? Kid doesn't need my talents for that, foist him off on that other brat, Ebisu was it ? He's got a decent head on his shoulders. Jiraiya was starting to get annoyed with the masked and chronically late ninja. Frowning and starting to get upset himself, Kakashi folded his hands behind his back, and yet I'm not asking Ebisu, I'm asking for your help. He knew he was going to cross a line soon, something he never wanted to have to do. But he owed his students the effort. Especially this one. Tone going cold, no longer writing or seeing the previously wonderful view before him, Jiraiya gave Kakashi a harsh side-eye, and who are you to ask me for anything ? Jiraiya had been around for a long time, and while Kakashi had done well in the war, Jiraiya had to do and survive a lot worse. You owe it to his parents, at the least. They made you his godfather, after all. Jiraiya refused to move, only a solid iron will of control keeping him from grabbing Kakashi and beating some sense into him. Who the hell gave him the right to judge him? Did he have any idea what kind of guilt he lived with, both because of that boy's parents and his own role in leaving him in this village? That was low, even for you, for this village, that was low. Kakashi shrugged, uncaring of the guilt surrounding an old man who only wanted to run away from his own sins. You made a promise. I'm merely asking if you're willing to actually follow through. Yeah, Kakashi knew he was headed straight to hell one day, but he'd gladly go if he could make sure these kids made it. Still looking without seeing anything in front of him, Jiraiya finally nodded slowly. I'm assuming he'll be at Team 7's training ground? I'll meet him in a few days. Gotta settle some things with the old man. Turning a cold eye to Kakashi, the elder ninja made the younger a promise. Bring him up again and I'll remind you why I'm so legendary. Kakashi shrugged and turned away. It's not my memory you have to live with. He was gone in a swirl of leaves a moment later, leaving an already worn-out Toad to think on his words. Back on the Team 7 training grounds, Naruto had finally finished his physical training and was now working with the oversized cleaver that was his Kubikiri Boko. Up and down slashes, side to side, and diagonally. While Naruto did not have a teacher, he had at least picked up some advice from actually users about getting started on some basics, which he would do for hours at a time, until his arms burned and he couldn't lift the sword anymore. But today was slightly different as one of his usual visitors was finally showing her face. Yoo-hoo, Whiskers. Long time no see. Ino had made her appearance, in her usual battle attire and now shorter hair pulled back into a high ponytail again. Still oddly without her usual bandage wraps, but Naruto that was probably because she wasn't on a mission. But she had a large container behind her in her hands. Hey Ino-chan, what are you up to today? Ino smiled and helped up the large to-go transport from Ichiraku's ramen stand. I figured you'd be here training and probably hadn't eaten anything yet, right? So I'm bring the ramen to you. Placing the container under a tree next to where Naruto had tossed his jacket, she was unprepared for the hug she got. Were his arms always so strong and corded with muscle? You are a goddess given human form, Ino-hime. Thank you. Looking at the container and letting the girl go, Naruto paused for only a moment before turning to the blushing girl. Wanna eat with me? Somehow her foggy brain at first only hearing, wanna eat me? And she was very confused though her blush skyrocketed. But she took a moment to think that this was Naruto and put the missing word in there. Sure yeah, I'll have a bowl. Sitting down with the boy as he opened the carrier and spied the 6 waiting bowls of ramen, Naruto took a veggie ramen to give to the girl before taking a pork bowl for himself. Saying a quick prayer, he was off to the races. Ino watched him for only a short while, breaking apart the provided travel chopsticks before a thought entered her mind at the boy being out here all alone. You're not training with your team? That confident about the exams? Naruto shook his head. Already halfway through this bowl, Kakashi-sensei can't train us both, Sasuke and me, so sensei is going to find a new sensei to help me out while he helps Sasuke. Taking a moment to finish off the bowl and drink down the broth, and was already on to the next one. Training always made him hungry. Ino however saw a flaw in all this. Well, that sucks. I'm sorry you have to give up your sensei for a month. Think you'll be okay for the finals? Naruto nodded through a mouthful of noodles, though he did swallow before talking. Ayamine had beat him more than once about manners around girls. It's okay, I'm not mad. And honestly I'm not too worried, I could wreck Neji now, but after a month of intense training? Oh, they'll be naming the crater I make with him after me. Naruto knew without a doubt he was going to wipe the floor with Neji. He'd still train however since crazy opponents were always waiting in the wings. Again he thought of Orochimaru and the mountain-wide gap between them. Impressed with the boy's upbeat attitude, Ino calmly ate her own noodles and just enjoyed the time with her crush. The sunny blonde just had a way of brightening the day and making things better. Which, now that she was over the broody Uchiha, she could see as an absolute delight. Sure, the edgy boy had his own mystery to him, but there was always a cold distance to him. Ino wanted to enjoy the warmth of this blonde before her, unsure however if that would be forever not. They both sat in silence for a while, finishing the food and chatting with each other for the next hour before Naruto groaned and rolled back to his feet, stashing all of the empty bowls back into the carrier. Naruto had a soft and thoughtful smile on his face as he watched the girl who he had conflicting feelings for. I appreciate you coming and checking up on me, Ino-chan. Don't worry about the carrier, I can take it back after my training. Ino stood and nodded, turning back to the village. Okay, I'll entrust that to you. Here Ino paused for a moment, an unsure look on her face that did not look normal to Naruto. But before he could ask her about it, she was looking up at him again with her usual confidence. Naruto ? Would you appreciate someone making you an actual lunch ? Not just ramen ? Naruto was caught flat-footed and nodded slowly, never having someone think of that before. I mean, I've never had that, so, yeah, that'd be great. Nodding, the girl was all grins again. Then all this month don't you worry about your lunches, if you're here, I'll bring you lunch, got it ? Seeing the boy nod dumbly, Ino raced off. Good luck, Naruto. And hey, I'm gonna go visit Hinata the day after tomorrow, wanna come with me ? Seeing the boy nod quickly, she waved as she left with a wink. Alright then, till later. And she was gone, bounding away and through the trees back to the village. Naruto was grinning as he turned back to his clones with a whoop. Alright. Time to live up to those expectations. We're gonna train even harder. Osu. All of the clones chorused with him, and he was back to working his body to the bone. Naruto groaned, the last few days on a repeat of wake up, eat, train, have lunch with Inohime, no longer simply Chan as she expressed she loved being called a princess and she was feeding him for free, train some more, and then head home for dinner alone and pee out asleep. And today would have been no different if not for two things. Kakashi had sent him a message saying his new sensei would be at the training ground today, so be there early. Which that threw him for a loop, but Naruto was happy that his sensei had followed through with what he said he would do. Now if only later he'd get to see Hinata-chan with Inohime and the day would be complete. Especially if he was able to show off his latest sealing book to the girls, which he might have left at home. Adjusting his sword and scratching his stomach, Naruto came to their training ground to the sight of a very tall but oddly dressed old man sitting in the middle of the clearing, a notepad in hand and writing away. As Naruto came closer, however, the book snapped shut and their eyes met for the first time. Something odd pegged behind the old man's eyes for a moment, like he recognized him or something. Well, Naruto was pretty awesome like that, though hopefully it didn't have anything to do with one of his pranks. Raising a hand, Naruto at least started out polite. Yo. I'm Naruto. Are you my temp sensei ? Scoffing at the brat, Jiraiya didn't want to be like his other teammate, but he felt like he was going to need a drink today. Temp sensei ? Temp ? Why when I'm done with you, you'll want me full time. For I am Jiraiya. Taken aback and scratching his head, Naruto gave the sage a confused look. And what is a Jiraiya ? Did they teach these kids nothing these days ? This must be corrected at once. Paper fans coming from somewhere, Jiraiya began his dance. Why I am the ultimate man of mystery. Feared by my enemies from the north to the south, loved by women across the world from the east to the west. Trained by the legendary toads of Mount Myoboku. I am Jiraiya the gallant. Of the Densetsu no Sannin. With a puff of smoke, the old toad sage was posing ridiculously on top of a toad bigger than he was. Naruto looked left, then looked right, before finally looking at the summoned creature with a pitying look. Did he really summon you just to show off ? He does this pretty often, we're used to it. Hey, I'm trying to be impressive. It's impressive. Sure, keep telling yourself that. I'd be more impressed if I hadn't blown up a Sannin once already. Wait, thinking about it, Naruto had heard the name Jiraiya from somewhere. Where was it though? Wait, Kakashi's and Gigi's dirty books. You write that porn. It's not porn. It's erotica and it's art. How dare this wet behind the ears boy belittle his craft? Art? ? It's smut. You're just a pervert. A pervert? As if. Jiraiya puffed himself up, back on the ground and grinning with pride. I'm a super pervert. That was it. Naruto was officially surrounded by perverts. Maybe he should check Sakura's or Sasuke's pouches for little porn books too. With a sigh, Naruto nodded in resignation. From now and forever, you a pervy sage. Wa common. At least give me Toad Sage, or Jiraiya-sama, or hey, how about? Cutting the old man off, Naruto created 3 clones before performing his Oryoku no Jutsu. He wasn't putting up with a pervert this early in the morning. He'd have to hunt down the Sandaime for training scrolls instead. Jiraiya watched the flawless execution of the clone technique before being floored by the sheer talent of the boy before him. The three beauties that were before him were so artfully placed. Two of them pressed against each other, chests hiding their peaks from view while the third was sitting on the ground. Blonde pigtails hid their treasures from view but the third was slowly opening long luscious legs too. And in a puff of smoke they were gone, and with them a wealth of inspiration. Yup. Definitely pervy sage. I'm out. Wait. Hold on, I think we can help each other. Holding a hand out to stop the boy, Jiraiya chuckled. Why, I did train the fourth Hokage. That has to count for something, doesn't it? I do have a lot of knowledge and soft that you don't. Now skeptical, Naruto frowned. You trained the fourth ? No way. Jiraiya again pulled out with pride. Know anyone else that can summon toads ? Toads are picky, won't let just anyone sign their contract, and right now that includes myself and the fourth. Unsaid was that he was the only one alive to be on the contract, but he'd be working to change that. First, he needed to make sure the kid had the chakra for it. Now Naruto was interested. There wasn't much in a book that would get him reading for long. But history about the Hokages was one such topic. And the knowledge that the fourth Hokage could summon toads was in the history books, though the bit about them being picky summons was new. Okay, fine, I'll give it a go. Snapping his fingers, Jiraiya was back to smiles. Great. Now, first we gotta get you trained up. First we'll practice chakra control with water walking and once again Naruto was walking away. Hey, wait a minute, what's wrong ? Naruto sighed as wordless he walking out onto the stream that meandered through the field. There he stood on the flowing water, letting the current push him before coming back on land. Yeah, I can do that already. Pausing and relishing that while the Hokage had been talking about the boy and he may have been spacing out, that might have been a mistake. Okay, well, if you can do that then you have the control, so next we need to see your capacity. Naruto raised a bored hand. Look, a lot of my style revolves around blowing things up. Do you have anything that can help with that ? Again being thrown off his stride, Jiraiya had to think about that one. While it was much too early to teach the boy the Rasengan, he was trying to get him interested in the toads. One of which was still behind Jiraiya and enjoying being ignored for now. Though he felt like he could help out his summoner this once. Toads have flammable oil. That piqued Naruto's interest. How flammable ? Seeing bait, Jiraiya made a show of hoping back on the toad's head. Let's aim for the training post, gimme some oil. And while his companion spit forth a stream of oil, Jiraiya let loose an equal stream of fire, igniting the oil into a yellow, red and white stream of heat and death and incinerated the training posts in seconds. Finishing their combination, the toad finally dispelled himself and Jiraiya dropped to his feet with a grin. How's that for useful ? Almost literal stars in his eyes, Naruto was looking between the training posts and the toad sage. Okay, you may be a pervert, but what do I gotta do for sign the contract for toads? 'Cause I need that oil. Oh, the things I can do with that. I wonder if it mixes well. Can you seal it ? Phew. Edging away from the suddenly creepy kid, Jiraiya was a little concerned that he laughed just like his mother when she was scheming. But, the contract was his birthright, so summoning a new toad who vomited forth the contract skull, Jiraiya laid it at their feet and unfurled it. And there at the end, just after Jiraiya's name, sat the fourth Hokage in his glory. Though while Jiraiya's name was glowing, the fourth's was darkened, signifying his death. Naruto ummed. Jiraiya motioned to his hand. Draw some blood and sign your name, then add your fingerprints as shown. From there we will work on the hand signs, speed, and then practice. This takes a lot of chakra, so I don't expect anything impressive yet. But we've got a month to work on it. Seeing Naruto nod as he signed as instructed, the scroll was quickly wrapped up and sent back to the toads. So, hand seals ? Jiraiya shook his head and turned to leave. Just in case, let's get a little further from the village. There's another training ground we should use. Naruto nodded. Oh, okay. Hold on. Crossing his fingers and concentrating, Naruto made a pair of clones who nodded and made themselves comfortable in the clearing. After this was done, Naruto trudged along after the safe. What was that about ? Curious use of clones that. Why just leave two? Naruto reached up to fiddle with the handle of his sword, losing himself in thought as he began making plans for toad oil. Oh, Inohime usually grabs me for lunch. But I promised her if I wasn't going to be here that I'd leave a clone for her to let her know. I left her today though because we're supposed to go see Hinata-chan in the hospital. She got hurt during the prelims. Not even thinking about the old pervert anymore, he was mentally calculating how much nitro he would need to buy later. Inohime ? Hinata-chan ? Was the boy already playing the field ? He was so proud already. Well, don't you worry kid, I'll make sure to have you back by lunchtime. But let's hurry, just in case. He didn't want to stand in the way of young love after all. Nor his research. Following behind the now tree-hopping sage, Naruto somehow felt like he was missing something. But hey, he was getting training and his teacher seemed like he knew his stuff, even if he was a pervert. There had to be some relation between being super powerful and being a pervert. And after 10 minutes of running, they came upon a training ground behind the Hokage monument. A wide open space that could probably house the Hokage tower. Naruto turned to the man next to him with a grin. All right old man, what you got? Jiraiya grinned himself and got to work. Follow along, no chakra for now, just practice. It's only 5 seals. Boar, dog, bird, monkey, ram. Working through them together for a few minutes, Jiraiya sat back as Naruto practiced the seals over and over. And after a few minutes to acknowledge the kid had it down, Jiraiya motioned to the ground. Perform the seals and place your hand on the ground. When you practice with it you'll get a feel for how much chakra to use in order to summon certain toads. But for now just use as much as you can. Again, I don't expect much from a kid. O ye of little faith. Naruto however was ready to wipe the smug look off the sage's face, so, tapping on the cage of his mind, Naruto demanded rent, wanna show this old bastard what we can do ? The QB snorted but relented, you've been good on your word, training and relying on your soft and not my power, so for this I will allow it. Try not to lose yourself. Naruto felt the odd power rush through him along with his own chakra. If he had to describe it in that moment, he'd sat it was hot, angry, liquid fire. And as he summoned up both his chakra and a slightly high amount of the foxes, it was a wide-eyed Jiraiya who noticed too late and failed to stop the boy. Kuchio's no jutsu. And the clearing erupted in smoke. Waving a hand and coughing, the old sage was terrified of what he was about to find. Because if the kid just summoned Bunter before he had a chance to warn him, oh his head might really roll. But as he was looking up and the smoke cleared, there was no giant mountain-sized toad. Jiraiya boyo, why'd you summon just me ? Where's my ? Smoke clearing and giving everyone a clear view, our aging white-haired toad was sitting comfortably in Naruto's hair, looking just as confused as the boy himself. Ah, pervy sage didn't summon you, I did. Naruto was looking up at the toad, not quite sure what to make of it. He had used enough chakra to make him a little light-headed, but maybe Jiraiya was right after all, he was just a kid. Looking down at the boy and hopping to the ground, Pa turned to look him over. Ooh, you're the Uzumaki boy. I didn't think you'd be able to summon one of us any time soon, but this is great. Why, we'll get to your training soon enough, you tadpole. Muahahaha. The old toad laughing and croaking, Naruto was at least willing to be polite to elderly that he didn't know. Well, just curious, can you spit oil like the other toads? One actually wanted to use some for an experiment. Pa nodded, sure can. Hold on a moment. Gathering some chakra and making a few seals, the sage toad slammed a hand into the ground, making a pot of earth that he thin spit oil into. Pot easily half the height of Naruto himself, the small toad still filled it quickly. Where does it all come from? Trade secret tadpole. Now, you used a little too much chakra there, skipped right ped the boss and straight to me, one of the sages. So practice some more, get a feel for us, and we'll meet again soon. I'll let Bunter know you're a good kid so he doesn't haze you. With a wave and a cackle, Pa was gone. Ha, he was nice. Naruto was already sealing the pot into a scroll. Oh, he was so ready to get playing. Frustrated and now free to explode, the old sage did so. Wait a minute. I was tested and hazed for days. And you summoned Pa on the first go. That's it, me and Sarutobi are gonna have it out, he left a lot out about you. Turning and making to leave the clearing, Jiraiya turned a hard eye back to the boy. Meet me here at this training ground from now on in the mornings. If I'm not here, start your normal routine. You can invite your girlfriend too. Saying his piece, Jiraiya left in a swirl of leaves. Blushing, Naruto was shaking a fist in the direction of the departed sage. Inohime isn't my girlfriend. Not like she'd be interested in an idiot like him. No, he had his beautiful explosions and that was enough for now. Currently without his sword, Naruto and a humming Ino both were in quiet moods as they made their way into the Konoha hospital. Naruto was still distracted by what the old pervert had said to him, trying hard not to imagine what it would be like with Inohime as a girlfriend. He barely knew what it meant to have a girlfriend anyway. Ino on the other hand was just happy to be spending some time with the blonde. Her own training had taken an uptick since the end of the preliminaries, so she hadn't been able to join him like before. She'd have to find the time later on, like after the finals. They were directed to the ninja wing of the hospital towards the upper floors, where they both were overwhelmed by the smell of power cleaners and antiseptics. It was quieter on these floors as well, not like the lower levels, and that probably spoke to the fact that this was a clan heiress that was injured. Something Naruto didn't think about often until right now as they came upon her room. At least she didn't have any of those stuffy Hyuga guards here. Opening the door for Ino to go first, Naruto walked in behind her to get his first glimpse of his injured friend. Hinata was sitting upright at the least while reading from a scroll. Her bed was against the wall with a window that allowed the sun in to give her reading light. Naruto was happy to see that there weren't a ton of machines hooked up to her, but his anger spiked a tad when he noticed that she was breathing rather heavily. Think happy thoughts, Naruto, and focus on breathing. Neji would get his. Ino was all smiles, however, as she swung herself into a chair next to the quiet girl. Hey there, Hinata-san. We figured today would be a good day to come visit and grace you with our bright and radiant presence. Leaning forward with a grin, Ino poked the bedridden girl in the leg. So how about it? Feel better? Friends first and rivals second. Ino was putting that lesson to good use lately. Smiling softly and looking up to both of her visitors, the injured girl nodded. I do feel better. It's so boring here all by myself for most of the day. That Kurenai-sensei and her teammates had been the only ones who had visited wasn't something she was going to mention. That would spark a new wave of worries between them. Putting on a smile and unsealing a set of bright yellow lilies already set in their own vase, Naruto walked forward and put them on the windowsill. It's not much, but wanted to get you something so we could brighten up the place. I've been in here enough to know just how cruddy it can be. Stepping back and admiring his work for a moment, he had his head to the side as he saw a blush on the girl's face. You okay, Hinata-chan? Want me to go find a nurse? It was Ino who smacked the boy on an arm. Relax, she's fine. One of the monitors would be going off, wouldn't it, if something was wrong? Throwing Hinata a bone, Ino eventually pulled the boy back to stand next to her. Smiling much more and nodding to the boy to calm him down, Hinata bowed slightly. Thank you, Naruto-kun, they're wonderful. She stared at the flowers for a moment before turning back to her friends with a question. While I appreciate the visit, don't you need to train for the finals, Naruto? Shaking his head, Naruto raised an arm and flexed. Though the jacket hid anything, I'm all good. I've still got plenty of time, and you both remind me that it's good to take a break from time to time. Plus currently he was still pretty wiped out. Summoning that sage toad used a lot of chakra, and without the fox he'd probably be ped out already. Giggling at the boy's antics and relaxing further into her pillow, Hinata then turned to Ino. How's helping Shikamaru-san with training going? Ino groaned and threw an arm over the back of her seat. That lazy bones hasn't changed up much of anything. If he isn't cloud gashing or napping, he's playing Go with Asuma-sensei. About the only time I get to have fun is with either of you two, so you need to hurry and get better. While she was joking around for the other girl's sake, Ino was partially serious as well. If she didn't get back to her regular excitement, she was going to start borrowing Naruto's clones to annoy her team. But the real question is, how are you, Hinata-san? They were here so they could check on the injured girl after all. Hinata patted her chest softly. They healed what they could, but I will need to be on bed rest for a few weeks. I'll be up and on light duty after that. Stifling a cough as this was the most she had talked in a while, the normally shy girl grinned. Guess that gives you time to catch up. Grinning at the challenge was an Ino who was happy to still see some fire in the girl. Oh, just you wait, I'll be bouncing you around the training field in no time. After she figured out how to counter the gentle fist. Feeling like he was suddenly forgetting something, Naruto proceeded to pat himself down while both girls looked at him curiously. After another minute of this and a frantic look growing on his face, Naruto finally turned to the door. I forgot I had something else I wanted to give you. I'll be right back, I swear. Before either girl could stop him, Naruto was out the door and gone, footsteps echoing down the hallway. Ino sighed and shook her head while turning back to her friend. I think all the clone usage is scrambling his brain. Nodding, Hinata smiles. He tries really hard at everything he does, that's all. Hands again resting on her scroll and drawing Ino's attention, the other girl asked about it. What's on the scroll? Looks intense. Hinata held it up for Ino to see, a great line of names scrawled on it. Recently something has been bothering me. And with all this time I have on my hands, I decided I could start looking into it. Bringing the scroll back into her lap with a sigh, Hinata traced the names. I was looking into the Uzumaki clan. Wait, hold up. Uzumaki clan ? Like Naruto's clan ? At Hinata's nod, the blonde sat back in confusion. Why go through that ? Hinata began to fiddle with her fingers while searching for the correct wording. Naruto-kun obviously didn't come from nowhere. He had to have had parents, and I know it bothers him that he doesn't know anything about them. So I thought, maybe I'd look his family up, put together a family tree for him so he could at least know the history. It was now, however, that a frown began to grow on her face, except the records for the Uzumaki suddenly drop off about 150 years ago. Throat dry, Hinata reached for a GL of water that had been provided for her when such a need arose. Ino pondered over the problem as well. If Naruto was actually an Uzumaki, and the Uzumaki were a clan that was a part of the Leaf Village, then why did their history just stop all of a sudden? That didn't make sense at all. But 150 years would mean not just his parents, or at least one of them, but also a set of grandparents are missing at least as well. Why would a family line be scrubbed from the records? Hinata had finished drinking and was putting her GL back. I don't know. It was Naruto that gave me a partial clue of where to look next though. You know the training scrolls in the library? Seeing Ino nod, she continued. Apparently Naruto has found a few with the donator's last name either partially or fully deleted, which isn't normal procedure. Hinata's voice grew quiet as she put forth her real worry. Something big is surrounding Naruto's family past. Possibly big enough to scrub everything about them from every record office in the village. Ino now picked up on where this might be going. The only other clan that has happened with, or at least close to it, was the Uchiha clan. Sure, we know who they are, but that's because it happened so recently. But you can already see some information regarding them has been scrubbed or concealed. Looking up with wide eyes was an Ino who wasn't sure how to continue. Do you think someone wiped the Uzumaki out? Hinata shrugged. I don't know. The fact that Naruto was completely alone, just like Sasuke, and had such a close relationship with the Hokage, which was usual as well. I think Naruto's clan was a lot more important that we know. It's all guessing though. Nodding and conceding the point, Hinata rolled up her scroll. Yes. But if it's true, it's where my current idea is forming. Waving a hand, Ino leaned forward. Well, don't leave a girl hanging. Lay it on me. Village conspiracies were fun, but creepy. She needed something more light-hearted. But the quiet girl shook her head. I don't want to say it out loud, just in case I jinx it. Here she looked at her love rival with a smirk. So for now you better work hard, because I'm going to monopolize Naruto when I get out of here. While the shy girl was still herself, Ino was slowly bringing out more of an outspoken personality in her. Pausing before laughing a little louder than polite, Ino grinned and flicked her hair. Oh, you're on. I'll have Naruto wrapped around my finger before you get out of here. As the two girls proceeded to trade barbs back and forth before an excited Naruto finally returned with a sealing book signed by an Kushina Uzumaki again. Their afternoon would continue with some peace until the two healthy teens were forced to leave. And while both Ino and Naruto felt like they had done a good job of cheering up their friend, it was a frowning Hinata that wasn't completely satisfied at the new piece of the puzzle that had been dropped on her. Jiraiya was not ready for the energy that a teenage boy could exude on a daily basis, and he had no problem admitting that. That said, it was truly fascinating watching the young Uzumaki work through problems in his own chaotic way. Sure, he was no genius, but show the kid how to do something and he would practice it over and over again until he got it. And his ideas about anything involving explosions and seals ? Yeah, even Jiraiya was rethinking some things. He'd never had to think about what would happen if one turned a storage seal inside out before, but that had been one of the first questions Naruto had asked. From there it was collapsing matrices, multi-layered explosion seals, ninja tool recall seals, and the hordes of clones that the kid could throw at any problem. Jiraiya could tell him that a seal took him years to figure out and learn, and with clones the kid shortened it down to days if not hours. And wasn't that a kick in the gonads, such a cheat soft. He did have to correct a few things with the kid about the clones though. He had been that because the clones had no that it was harder to see them. The truth was that the clones pretty much blanketed an area with chakra, and with them using shunshin at the same time it was like trying to locate a specific drop of water in a river. Considering he was using the tactic of suicide bombing clones, this was something he was going to start doing often and with extreme prejudice. Not that the old sage would stop him, or could really. But that was the point Jiraiya was learning with the boy. Even if he was doing something wrong for a long time, it seemed all he needed was someone to correct him with genuine effort and he'd be doing things right from then on. It was exhausting to deal with really. And there was the other thing. Hey pervy sage, the Hokage said I could keep this book of seals, isn't that awesome? Cheering for himself, the boy sat down to quickly get to seal practice, some new idea in his head. Jiraiya couldn't figure out how the kid kept seeming to find leftover scrolls and books from his mother, but he shouldn't have been at all. Everything from the Uzumaki clan was supposed to be in a vault, specifically for him when he got older. Sensei had said that they must have been lost before the vault was sealed, but Jiraiya wasn't buying it. He had watched Kushina write the one Naruto currently had, and it had been around the later months of her pregnancy. No time to get lost before her death. Shaking the thought free and trusting the Hokage, Jiraiya walked forward and ignored the lines of clones balancing on kunai. Don't forget your summoning practice. Oh right. Naruto idly made the necessary seals and slammed a hand down. A much smaller puff of smoke later and a small toad just slightly bigger than his hand was there giving a salute to the boy who was already bring out a decent bag of candy. Yo bro, what crazy stuff are we doing today ? Gamakichi, son of Bunta the Toad Boss, was summoned a few days ago as Naruto got a feel for the toads and how he could work with them. These two had become fast friends over a general love of life and flashy things. Naruto sat the bag in front of his small friend and pointed at his book. Nothing crazy today. Trying to figure out this seal idea I have. I want to seal an explosion in a storage seal, and then compress it. He really wasn't even sure if such a thing would work. But his idea was to seal way more than the normal amount of explosives in a seal, then seal that first seal within a complex matrix of compression seals. The idea was to ignite all of the explosives inside the first seal, then rupture it. The compression seals would fight it, attempting to crush the explosion in the size of a chickpea, and hopefully by the time they failed, the explosion would be beyond a critical point and would be way larger than it should be since it had the extra time to ignite all of its material. He had learned in earlier experiments that when his normal explosives ignited, not everything went off at once. That was lost material and was not efficient, and if he was exploding stuff he was going to make sure he exploded everything. Of course that would only happen if he got this to work. The rest of the day was spent like that, Jiraiya looking over Naruto's shoulder and giving him tips and advice, but mostly allowing the boy to work through the problem on his own. As per Naruto's normal routine, Ino eventually came to visit with lunch in hand. Jiraiya liked the spunky girl and approved of her methods. The way Naruto had described her at first, he was ready to meet a fangirl or some vapid body chaser. But watching the girl occasionally train alongside the boy as well as put away the food just like him, he had a better opinion now. Though he could tell this was a recent change in her body still on the skinny side, but she was beginning to put on some healthy weight in muscle. Now he just had to meet the little Hyuga girl to get a better idea of Naruto's tastes. Watching the sun begin to fall while Naruto was laying out a large sheet of paper, the Toad Sage sighed, "Please tell me this isn't another explosion experiment ? Unsealing a small pot of toad oil graciously given by one of the many toads he had summoned up till now, Naruto nodded without even looking. Explosions are pure beauty given form. Jiraiya knew society had done the boy wrong at some point. You mean women, not explosions. Naruto began packing explosive notes all around the pot, before adding lines of seals from the pot to connect with the paper and the storage seal he had modified. Well, sure yeah, but I'm too young for that, so explosions over women. Sighing and sitting down, Jiraiya shook his head. I'm so going to have to take you away from this village and fix you if they have your brain scrambled that badly. Maybe it would give him time to figure out how to tell the kid he was his godfather. Naruto grinned as he finished his work. He had connected and modified everything as per his and Kushina's own notes, so now was just to test it. Applying chakra to the seal, it first sealed away the pot and explosive notes, leaving behind a large sheet of chakra with excessive seals inscribed on it, then at the second point and another puffer sheet of chakra paper not much larger than a normal explosive note. Grinning in excitement, Naruto tied the seal to a kunai and pocketed it for later. Now with the more known value explosive experiment out of the way, it was time to move on to the unknown one. Drawing forth a second storage scroll and unsealing its contents, it was Jiraiya that again piped up. What's that all about, kid? ? Seeing a bedsheet-sized seal matrix that was half finished along with several baskets worth of rocks, the old sage could only wonder at what the kid was thinking. Moving the basket of heavy metal to the center of the array and already working on seals around it, Naruto was nervous as he explained this one. Have you ever thought about what happens when you put something in a storage seal ? Shrugging as something so basic wasn't on his radar, Jiraiya shook his head. Can't say that I have. Naruto nodded. I never did either. Sure yeah, anything you put in a seal is kinda set in stasis and that's it. But I was always curious, could you make the storage sealed or other things ? Like say turn something inside out or liquefy it ? Or like I wanna do, break something down to its base pieces. And why would you wanna do that ? It's just going to be in storage. Not when I destabilize the seal and turn it inside out. Missing the Jiraiya's horrified look, Naruto pressed on with his experimental seal. It was a silent 10 minutes that passed before Naruto activated this seal. Watching as first it scrolled together and miniaturized itself before rolling into a normal-looking storage scroll. The 3 black bands that held it closed were a nice touch and made sure he wouldn't mistake it for another scroll. Again into a pouch this one went and it was saved for another day. Today wasn't the day to test this out after all. Granted, there might not be any day to test that out anytime soon. Maybe after the finals he and his team could take a mission out of the village. Beginning to dispel his clones in groups so he could make sure he didn't run into a mental strain, Naruto turned to his current sensei. I'm pretty much done for the day. Thinking about it, he should probably up his weights tomorrow since it was getting pretty easy to move about again. Jiraiya looked the boy over before walking forward and laying a hand on his shoulder. You've worked hard this month, kid. I'm proud of ya. While Naruto wasn't completely warmed up to the pervert, he could admit that the man had not only done a lot for him, but had also treated him as a real ninja. He didn't automatically assume Naruto was joking around or looking to play a prank. He took him seriously like a sensei should, and Naruto appreciated that. Plus he had helped him take one more step closer towards being Hokage. Now if he just didn't have to peep so often. The finals are in a few days, so that means training time is done. Spend a few days relaxing and resting. Let your body heal. At most you can practice your seals at home, while being safe, and that's it. No explosions. Jiraiya had to get some things ready as well. He was on duty for the exams after all. Nodding and figuring the man would say something like that, Naruto turned to leave, Gamakichi in his hair. Alright pervy sage. I'll see ya later. And like that he was off, bouncing through the trees. The QB jailer was in a good mood today. His training had been going well and his experiment seemed to work out just as he had hoped. Now maybe to round out a good day he could go and visit Hinata-chan before heading home. Besides hanging out with Gamakichi there wasn't much to do after all. Hey bro, I actually need to get back, I'll see ya later. And like that the Oyabun's son was gone and Naruto was on his own. Shrugging and wishing the little toad well in his mind, Naruto now reduced his evening to yet another dinner alone. Bursting out into the outer areas of the village, Naruto made a beeline for the hospital. Hopefully Hinata wasn't asleep this time, as the last time he tried to visit she had been, and the nurses had looked at him funny when he had decided to watch over her instead of go home. It's not like he had anything else to do. Shaking that thought from his head and hopping over rooftops towards his goal, he decided he was going to keep his good mood. B. The village was alive with visitors and had gained a festive feel that even the civilians had been swept up into. The day of the finals was here and people from all walks of life were ready to see the conclusion. Naruto, however, was checking the last of his equipment and making preparations with his various seals and weapons. He had made sure to deactivate his weight seals and have moved anything experimental into a special pouch he now kept on his lower back. Didn't want that stuff to be an easy reach after all. Pretty sure he'd not be promoted if he blew up the stadium. However, that was an hour ago, and now he was making his way to the competitor entrance of the arena. Or he would be if he hadn't spied Hinata-chan and Ino waiting for him. Running up to the girls with a smile, Naruto was full of cheer that was infectious. Good to see you out of the hospital, Hinata-chan. Hinata nodded. I was told to take it easy. But I'm cleared for light duty from now on. Kurenai-sensei was waiting for her in the stands, ready to cheer their friends on, or in her case, just this one. The girl shivered slightly but tried not to draw attention to it. She had forgotten her jacket at home, but knowing she was meeting with Naruto had prevented her from going back and getting it. Ino had bounced forward and slugged the boy in the shoulder. You better knock him dead, and give that lazy Shikamaru a reason to actually do something. While she would happily root for both her teammate and her crush, she knew who she wanted to see take it all. Naruto, however, had focused on the pale girl next to them, and driving his sword into the ground for a moment he removed his jacket. Before either girl could say a word, Naruto had draped it over Hinata's shoulders. Stepping back and admiring his work, the girl looked good in black. Keep it safe for me, would ya? ? Things are gonna get dicey and I've gotten kind of attached to it. Sure, making up a reason to keep the girl warm was a little underhanded, but seeing the color return to her cheeks meant it was a job well done. Knowing the near meltdown Hinata wouldn't be able to answer anytime soon, Ino turned to the bare-armed boy. New look? ? One approve. Naruto had decided that the black had looked decent on him. Plus it hid the carbon from his explosions pretty well. So he now wore black combat boots with mainly black cargo pants. They did have orange highlights around the ankles, knees, and the waist, however. Black weapons pouches adorned each hip and the small of his back now, while pockets lined with storage seals took care of kunai and shuriken. His other addition was a black mesh shirt and orange muscle shirt. Normally his jacket would break it up, but he didn't need it today. Returning his sword to his back, Naruto chuckled. Someone keeps harping on me about fashion and function, so I decided to listen. Happy in a way she couldn't fully describe, Ino nodded and stepped away from Naruto. We'll be cheering for you, so you better knock him dead. Leaning closer in a mock whisper, the girl held a hand to her face. Just don't blow up Shika, K ? Nodding, Naruto turned to go. Don't worry, I'll take it easy on him if we have to fight. But I plan on winning this thing. Turning and running through the entrance, he missed the slightly jealous look Ino shot Hinata. Bet you're real warm in there, aren't you? ? Like you wouldn't believe, you harpy. A more bold Hinata pulled the jacket tighter around her shoulders. Rolling her eyes and walking the girl inside, Ino couldn't let that slide. Friend or not, says the cow who only has one thing going for her. Some girls just flower later. It's okay, Ino-chan. You win today, but I'll make up for it, just you wait. Snuggling deeper into the jacket with a smile, Hinata shrugged. You never know. She had gotten closer to the truth over the last few weeks. And her idea and plan might just have some merit. Naruto, however, was no longer having thoughts about cute girls with soft curves. No, today was the day of the finals. Today he'd get a stage to show off his art. Then his eyes landed on the other competitors, and he was reminded that today was the day he got to wipe the floor with a certain stuck-up Hyuga. So as he came into the lineup and waited for instructions, Naruto's mind was already moving along with battle plans. For another 10 minutes the group waited while the proctor, a different man Naruto didn't recognize, stood watching them. An Anbu member jumped down to whisper something into his ear which had him scoffing but turning his full attention to them all. Sasuke Uchiha is late, but is being given a bye at the moment till his match. Remember, you are all fighting for the glory and status of your villages along with your own advancement. These matches are to the death or submission. Unless I step in at any point. If I say a match is over, that means it's over. Anyone stepping out of line will be disqualified and disciplined. Understood? At everyone's nods, Genma motioned to a stairwell. Everyone not Naruto, Uzumaki or Neji Hyuga are to wait in the competitor's box. As everyone else left, Naruto and Neji paced away from each other. Neji was already bored and ready to be done. What is some nameless loser supposed to do with me? You're weak and a failure, just quit and save yourself the shame. Naruto, however, was ignoring him, searching the stands for Inohime and Hinata-chan. He wanted to make sure they were safely seated. Belatedly, he remembered that several disguised clones were on that jacket and hoped they would behave. That also meant he'd have to make some new ones for himself eventually. Turning and spotting the seething boy once he had seen him among some of their other rookies, Naruto shrugged. Sorry, you say something? So hip and cool. Kakashi taught you well. Neji didn't, however, let him break his calm. I said you might as well quit. You failures never know when to give up and accept life isn't fair. You can't work past your fate. Naruto shrugged, hands on his hips. I guess we'll see in minute. Are you last done or would you like to sit down for some tea? Genma was already over the teenage melodrama. But seeing the boys nod, he amplified his voice. Round 1 between Neji Hyuga and Naruto Uzumaki. Begin. And he was gone in a shunshin, ready to step in if needed. Neji was already closing the distance, palm already outstretched. I'll make this quick. Feeling his hand make contact, he already knew something was wrong. Yeah, you will. Tata hole. The clone only had a split second before it exploded, sending the pale Hyuga spiraling through the air on an uncontrolled course. Hidden away in the trees by a kawarimi, Naruto made a dozen clones with specific instructions and waited while they set upon the boy. No sense getting close to a Hyuga. Hinata had taught him that. Neji hit the ground and rolled, coming to his feet as fast as he could. Byakugan activating, he noticed with some frustration that he couldn't tell the clones from the real Naruto, each having a chakra network. Spinning in place and connecting a foot with the chest of one, he felt a hand slap his calf. Ooh, so close. As the clone puffed away, the tag it left behind sizzled before again exploding. Though this one was more of the training variety, it still sent Neji for a tumble. Which was stopped by another clone first kicking him into the air and then smashing a fist into his face. I thought you Hyuga were good at taijutsu. Sent off in a new direction like a pinball, Neji wasn't given time to make a plan or dodge properly. Upset that his trump card was already coming out, Neji frowned as he might have underestimated the boy. As 3 clones were jumping towards him at once, he began to spin, kaiten. Pouring chakra from his paws and rotating like a buzzsaw, the dome of chakra exploded into existence. The 3 engaging clones all met their end, while the remaining 7 held back and waited. Once the Hyuga finished his spin, they were on him again. Though now more alert, though damaged and bleeding, Neji was able to defend himself a bit better, dispelling several clones before he caught sight of something appearing behind him just outside his blind spot. It'd eat up chakra, but he was already starting another kaiten. Still in the trees and making another dozen clones, the blonde Uzumaki frowned. So the Byakugan really did give him the ability to see 360 degrees around himself. His reaction time was also pretty good. No Orochimaru or Jiraiya, but still decent. That meant it was time for Operation Ankle Biter. Mentally sending the order and watching things unfold, Naruto had to wonder if this might be a little over-off. Neji frowned as even more clones began appearing from the trees, another dozen it looked like. Tightening his stance, he was able to finally pick out what he thought was the real one, the chakra network more complex than the others. Dodging and rolling between the attacking clones while showing off why the Hyuga could be considered so dangerous, he finally got within range. You're within range of my divination. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Puzzling chakra coursing through his hands, he lunged forward at the surprised Naruto. 2 palms. 2 hits and an explosions much larger than the others later, Neji's bleeding form was ejected from the plume of smoke in the opposite direction. Landing in a heap and barely conscious, Neji could only look up as several Narutos all surrounded him. You gave me what I wanted to see. One of the Narutos nodded. You're pretty easy to figure out, you know. Life was shitty to you, probably too young to do anything about it, and now you lash out at everyone else. I'd say I was like that once too before turning to pranking, but that wouldn't do it justice really. Squatting next to the downed Hyuga, the clone grinned, blue and purple eye shining. I promised Hinata not to off you. And I honored that because I think she deserves a real apology from you. She's stronger than you or me after all. Maybe you should reevaluate what that means yourself ? Then all of the clones dispelled as the proctor dropped down into the field. Genma saw that Neji was unable to continue and raised his hand. Winner of the first round, Naruto Uzumaki. The crowd roared with approval and it brought a small smile to Naruto's face. As he looked up and found Hinata and Ino cheering just loud enough for him to hear though, his smile brightened even more. He would definitely be making this an explosion of a debut for the new him. Above him and in the stands, Ino shook Kiba hard enough to send his eyes swirling. Did you see that? He wiped the floor with Neji. He never even got hit once. That's some real soft. Hinata nodded. He's trained so hard. He was already something of a powerhouse at the preliminaries. How much do you think he's improved since then ? Kurenai was watching the boy curiously as he left the arena. She had been happy with the changes in her charge lately and had figured that the girl had finally worked up the courage to talk to him. Seeing him now in battle, she was starting to get an idea of why Hinata herself was beginning to push herself. If I had to say, just on tactics alone he's Chunin ready. Kiba looked up to his sensei. That knucklehead ? How so ? He just spams clones and loves blowing things up. Kurenai nodded. But from another perspective, he kept himself out of harm's reach, knowing the Hyuga penchant for close-range battle. He used his clones to ascertain his opponent's soft and come up with a plan. That shows an ability to at least lead a small squad. Yes, if this was a match to the death he could have ended it sooner by blowing Neji apart with that first clone, but he didn't. That shows thought and restraint. And last, after finding the Hyuga's hidden techniques he devised a way to counter them in the simplest way that worked with his softs. Kurenai nodded to herself. Battle coordination, basic planning, and soft level. The boy was Chunin material in her mind. But hers wasn't the only one that got to decide that after all. Slightly behind her, the sensei of Team 10 Asuma spoke up. Gotta admit, I wasn't really expecting Kakashi's explosive happy student to get so far. He's got some talent. That he might be losing some Ryo by the end of this was a sore spot though, and he just knew the masked ninja was going to be smug about it. Leaning back now and grabbing an Embara Choji by the neck, Ino was laughing away. Hear that? Naruto might be the first of us to hit Chunin. How's that for Academy dead last? Which was really a weird thing. What had happened after leaving the academy to change Naruto so much ? Or was this who he always was and he just hadn't gotten the correct teachers to bring it out of him ? Mysteries and questions. Down below and inside the competitor's box was a happy Naruto leaning against the viewing window. He got to trounce Neji and make Hinata smile. That was a good day in his book. Though the glare he could feel burning into the back of his head was a different matter. The redhead boy is like you. Don't disappoint me. The QB had decided to speak up. Odd that. You mean a container ? Well, why didn't you tell me sooner ? Naruto was only slightly upset that he heard nothing else from the fox, but that should have been expected. The QB was willing to act like a battery when needed and not a moment before. The fact that he warned him at all probably meant that he wanted to make sure Naruto didn't embar him as a container. Not that he would, since he still had some flashy stuff to show off today. Shikamaru, however, sidled up next to the blonde, bored and ready to be home. Did a pretty good job there, Explody boy. Any chance you could take it easy on me later ? Naruto shrugged. I did promise Inohime not to blow you to pieces. But that does give me other options. Looking over at the pineapple-haired boy, Naruto nodded only slightly to Gaara. Be careful with that one if you have to fight him. Don't fight him at all if you can. Surprised that Naruto had caught on to that, the tactical boy nodded while dropping his voice to a whisper. Yeah, I was actually going to warn you myself. Glad we're on the same page. Hearing the proctor announce that the match between Shino and Kankuro went to Shino by forfeit, Shikamaru frowned. Guess that was a pretty shitty matchup. Shino's bugs would tear through his puppets. Naruto nodded as the next match was announced. You're up, lazy bones. You spend way too much time with Ino. However, Shikamaru headed down to the stands without further prompting, mind nagging at him. Naruto, however, was trying to get in touch with the fox. Hey you furry hole, I got a question for you. Speak it then. I was enjoying a nap. Wondering just why a 1,000-year-old fox would want to nap at all when stuck inside a cage, Naruto shook it off. How worried should I be about Gaara? There was a growl in response before Naruto felt the demon consider the question. The demon within him, Shukaku, is absolutely a nutter. Based on what I'm feeling, their seal is much weaker than ours. So I will offer this one bit of advice. Do not let that boy go to sleep. If he does, you will be fighting the demon, not him. Naruto nodded to himself and watched an irritated Shikamaru battling it out against Temari. Apparently his original opponent Dosu was a no-show. I'll keep that in mind. Naruto was trying to follow Shikamaru's match, but it was slow going. The boy had figured out that he couldn't get close to Temari no matter what he tried, so he seemed to be trying to wait her out. Temari was marking lines in the dirt and staying behind them, already having figured out Shikamaru's range with his shadow tendril. And she knew better than to try to take to the shadowed tree line. That was an instant loss for her. Which mean as the morning turned into the afternoon and even a little further, Naruto was ready to toss a clone or two to speed things up, and from the sounds of it so were the rest of the crowd. It was in the end thanks to several craters left before from his explosions that allowed Shikamaru to catch the fan-wielding girl. Though Naruto and everyone else was frustrated when after all that the tactical boy surrendered anyway on some excuse about using too much chakra. Possibly true, but doubtful. More likely the boy was just ready to be done with the exams. Somewhere out there Naruto could hear Ino screaming. This however meant Gaara was soon down in the field alone and waiting for his own opponent. One Sasuke Uchiha who was still late. It was Shino who snuck up on the Uzumaki. Did your teammate decide to back out? Voice quiet. The Aberrane was not normally one to reach out. Naruto shook his head. He's with Kakashi-sensei, so more likely they're either being fashionably late or drama queens. Seeing the swirl of leaves and the appearance of his missing team members, Naruto pointed and nodded. Yup, drama queens. Naruto had wished Sasuke had been there earlier so that Naruto could warn him, but all he could do now is wait and hope his rival could hold his own. Naruto fingered his sword however, ready to leap in and interfere regardless on the exam. He had felt that bloodlust from the Sand Ninja briefly, and he wasn't going to give him the chance to offer friend. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.